Okay, welcome everyone to our alumni career webinar on who do you want to be at 50 with Maria Amendolia from the class of 1992. Maria is an action coach and owner of Take Shape. I'm Maura Sweeney, the Director of Alumni Career and Professional Development at Holy Cross, and I'm delighted to welcome you to today's webinar offered exclusively for the Holy Cross community. We'll be together for about an hour today, and we do have time set aside at the end for questions. You'll notice we've got the chat that we're hoping that people will engage in throughout the conversation. If you have questions, you can pop them into the chat. I'm going to compile them to ask more toward the end, but you're welcome to enter them at any point. This presentation is recorded, will be made available to everyone in a few days. And now it's my pleasure to introduce you to today's speaker. Maria Amendolia is the owner of Take Shape Massage and Movement Therapy, and she believes that self-care is a combination of the physical, mental, and emotional. Described as motivational and inspirational by her clients, Maria believes that everyone can become fitter, healthier, and happier, and she is thrilled to support her clients' efforts through her action coaching process. She uses her 20+ years experience in group exercise, personal training, movement rehab, nutrition, counseling, and massage to help her clients make thoughtful choices that daily bring them closer to who they want to be. Guiding her clients to explore their core values and ground floor goals, and then empowering them to create the habits that will lead them to a sense of contentment and fulfillment is what gives her life meaning. I am delighted, as I'm sure you all are, to have Maria here to speak with us today. And so with that, I will put myself on mute and turn the floor over to Maria.
Maura, can you just come walk through life with me and introduce me to people? That would be awesome. That was very nice. Thank you so much. So first of all, for those of you who don't know me, this is not my normal voice. I just feel like it needs a little bit of a disclaimer. I had thyroid surgery 2 weeks ago. All went well, little collateral damage, some damage to my vocal nerve. I just want to put everyone at ease. It doesn't hurt to talk. It just sounds like that. So I appreciate your patience with me that I might not quite have the volume or inflection that I normally do. So again, thank you, Maura. That was a lovely introduction that I don't normally get. So I feel a little shy, but I'm gonna power through it. I am so excited that so many of you joined. Clearly, it's a topic that resonates with a lot of us. And it's relevant to everyone, right? Any age. We're all aging. We're all going through transitions of some kind. And there was someone in the chat was like, I'm over 50. We're not counting. We're not checking IDs. So it's just to take the relevant pieces of, what we want to talk about here. I've found that this latest iteration of what I do is definitely the most rewarding because it takes the pieces of a person and their being and kind of looks at it more holistically. It's a great opportunity for me to have a partnership with people while we figure out, what you've been doing, what's working, what's not working, what you hope to be doing in the future, and how to get you there. So without further ado, I'm gonna just have you take a look really quickly at an agenda, just because I feel like sometimes it is nice to have a sense of what we're doing. I'm going to talk a little bit about what this all means. We're going to do a couple of different exercises that get you kind of exploring what's going on in your head, talk about how we get from, the idea of what we have as a goal into putting it into action, and then giving you also some tips that you can take home with you. So that is what we're going to do. So what does it mean, right, to take action in your life? I feel like we all have, things we're thinking about. Maybe we've got a particular goal. Maybe it's not even that specific. Maybe there's just an idea that we want to have a shift in our priorities or that a change is coming. Sometimes it's not even that specific. It can just be like something in the back of your head going, I don't know, there's something not quite right. There's something out of sync, out of balance. And we all just sort of move through life doing what we're supposed to be doing, right? I think earlier on, there's some really official transitions and some very clear steps we're supposed to take, whatever that means. You study hard in high school, you graduate, you go to college, hopefully you graduate. You're supposed to look for a partner, get married, have kids. Okay, great. Those things are considered sort of the most important. And they get ceremonies, they get parties, they get food. I mean, I'm childless by choice. And I would always joke, like, can I have a shower for that? Because they got a shower. Like, but but I guess what I'm saying is those are the things that somehow got into the official definition of like, this is what's supposed to happen, right? Well, what about all the other things that come up in our lives? You know, your kids are getting older, they're going off to school. Um, Maybe your parents are aging and need a lot of your attention. Perhaps there's illness in your own life or like in your immediate family. There can be shifts in sort of your satisfaction with your career, or hell, maybe you were never satisfied with your career and you're always still searching for like what it is you're supposed to be doing. Um, Maybe you don't have the same connection with your partner. Maybe there's divorce. There's all these other things that come along that sometimes force us into change or sometimes just create a shift in the balance. And I think it's very easy to kind of just keep putting one foot in front of the other. This is what I do. And it's important to really stop and check in and take stock. Say, is what I'm doing what I want to be doing? And is where I am where I want to be, right? So that's why I say that, who do you want to be at 50? Is what you're doing aligned with who it is you want to be? So, when I'm working with a client, we sort of have this whole process. We talk about what their goals are and what their core values are, try to kind of get someone to their, I call it like the aha moment, right? Where all those thoughts that are going on in your head crystallize and you're like, okay, this is the thing I need to be gut checking all my decisions against. This is who I want to be. And, how am I doing here? So what I thought we would do today is just kind of start the process for you, dip our toe in and do a couple of exercises that can get you thinking a little more concretely. So let's do slides because I'm going to have you get out a piece of paper. I don't know if you guys saw my note in the reminder. I was like, make sure you have paper and pen so you don't have to like scramble for the back of an envelope. And I want you to draw a circle. So far, pretty easy. Make sure it's like not a piece of paper like this, like not a, it's going to be hard to do this on a Post-it, right? If you have something a little bit bigger, that would be good. And then you're going to take your circle and make a pizza. So I want you to divide it into 8 wedges. Don't worry, they don't have to be like perfect. I would be there with a ruler, but you can just put them in. And then in each wedge, put 10 tick marks, dots, whatever, just to divide up the wedge, right? So whatever shape or size kind of works for you, give yourself 10 ticks in each wedge. I'm like going to wait for a few more sets of eyes before I keep going. And then as you're doing your ticks, what we're going to do from there is I'm going to next give you a bunch of categories. We're going to talk about them. And you're going to, as I've described sort of the categories, you're going to think about the 8 categories that you want to choose for the exercise today. And you're going to put them, you're going to assign like a category to each of these 8 wedges, right? So here's some categories. They're not exhaustive. You could have one of your own. But the idea would be is to think about how you spend your life, how you spend your days, what your priorities are, where you put your time and attention, and those should be your 8. So family can be your nuclear family. It could be an extended family, sort of whatever that means to you. That's a possible one. Relationship, your primary relationship or the important relationships in your life. There are some of us that really value, ongoing learning. So perhaps that's on your list. Spiritual life, it could be a personal spiritual life, certainly your religious community, if you're affiliated with a church. Finances are very, very important for some people more than others, especially if you're, planning for retirement or college or a house, or, that might be primary in your, focus. Humanity. I think for me, this is where Chara comes in, right? The Holy Cross Anti-Racism Alliance. It's like, how am I involved in what's going on in the world? And how am I dealing with the inequities, the injustices, and am I aware of them? Am I doing anything about them? Like, how am I living into my fullest humanity? I stole that quote from my friend Kona. That might resonate with some of you and not others. Health and fitness, often people say, together, like as if it's one thing. I actually think they're very different. So fitness to me is, are you cardiovascularly fit? Are you moving your body? Are you exercising? Are you strong? Health, as I am now understanding, right, is about, are you paying attention to your health, mental, physical, all of it? Are you dealing with mental health issues, but are you attending to them? Are you seeking help? Are you getting checkups? I happen to know a few people who have avoided the doctor for many years, thinking maybe then that, none of it will be real, right? So are you putting the attention that this deserves? Career, I think, sounds pretty obvious. Kids, if you have them, or if they're, kids in general, are an important part of your life, whether they're yours or not not by birth. Friends, we are wired for connection. It's just, it's been researched, it's proven. And it's interesting that there has been research done that says that, the strength and quality of our human connections are actually a higher indicator of how long we'll live than how fit we are. And so for me, I consider that a pretty important category. I think it's one to consider when you're, filling all those wedges in. Are you creating wedges for everything that kind of is important, right? And I know there's only 8. And maybe you'll take this list in a week and you'll redo it. Who knows? Romance, that can be something for which, it's a priority for you, maybe not. Travel, philanthropy, these are things that I think fall into some people's purview and not others. Fun, underrated, and often not on the to-do list. But I would argue very important for our health and happiness. Personal development, that can be hobbies, that could be artistic expression, it could be dance, it could be anything that you feel like enhances you as a human. And then self-care. Some of these kind of are interrelated. I just wanted to give you lots of choices to say, okay, what are the things that really resonate most with me? So I'm going to go back to the list in case you haven't picked all of them yet, so you can look. But just so that you're clear about what we're doing, you're going to put one on each wedge. And then when you've got your 8 categories picked out, you're going to sort of mark on that wedge where you feel like you're putting your attention. So as an example, 0 or 1 is right close to the center of the circle. Okay. And so if you don't feel like you've been attending to your health at all, maybe you've got like a 1 or a 2. Maybe you've been really focused on your career and that's like a 9 or a 10, that would be on the outer edge of the circle, right? So you can see for each of these categories, I've put sort of my own personal assessment of where I am today in terms of where my time and energy is going. And then I'm going to have you just connect your 8 dots. Does that make sense? Is everybody with me? I'm going to bring you back to the list just for a minute so that I can give you time if I blew by it too quickly. I want you to know I almost put the Jeopardy music in here. And then I thought it might be stressful. And if you wished it was here, you can thank Adam Goldberg because he wanted me to put it in. All right, how you doing? Good? Yeah? Okay. So you got your wedge, your dots, they're connected. So now take a look at that. Like, how does it feel? Does it surprise you at all? Is there anything in there that you're like, whoa, now that I really look at that, I thought I was doing a better job of, attending to this one area that I feel like is really important. And does it feel balanced? And when I say balance, I don't mean like, are they all number fives and is there another, circle in the middle? Because that's not realistic. What I mean is, does it feel like the right balance for you in terms of where you're spending your time, where you're putting your energy, where your focus is? And then I have kind of 2 suggestions for you that maybe you want to do on your own. So the first is later, get a different color pen and put another set of 8 dots on what your ideal would be. Like, what would it be if you didn't have to consider what you should be doing, or, what is the reality of your commuting? Like, what would ideal look like? And just superimpose it and take a look and just see how different it is. And then the other thing I sort of alluded to before is sit down with this like in another week, when you're not in the middle of a talk, and just go, would I still choose those same 8 categories? Is that really, did I really forget this other one? Like, or is there one I didn't even mention? And do it again and just see where you're at, right? What is this telling you about how aligned your actions and your activity is with what you would like to be doing? So now we're just going to do a quick poll. It's kind of a way to get involved without trying to talk to everybody at the same time. I did it into categories rather than every one of those, just because it was easier. Was there one specific area that struck you that you wished that you were doing more of, or that you wished you were putting a little more time and attention to? And it's just curious to see, like, are there kind of areas that are common areas that many of us wish we were like spending a little more time on? This is like, so I was listening to a podcast and someone was calling about their death self. They're like, yeah, your death self isn't going to care about your career. And clearly that's what we're seeing in this poll right here. I'm not sure any of us is going to be like, darn, I didn't spend enough time at work. Okay, so this is good. I mean, we're kind of, the group of us is saying some pretty interesting things. We're not spending enough time on our primary relationships with our friends. Maybe we're letting ourselves fall to the wayside or to the bottom of the pile a little bit. And yeah, I mean, I agree, we could all be traveling more. Don't get me started on COVID. Yeah, anyway, I put lip gloss on for the first time in like 2 years for you people, by the way. It was a very, very strange thing, but I was excited to do it. Oh, that's awesome. Kristen, thank you for that note that just popped up on my screen, that you're a singer and you love, see, that's good stuff. That's really good. I want everyone to love their job. All right, so I think we can move on, yeah, from the poll. I can pull it down too, right? Can I do that? I can. All right. So, you up for one more little exercise? You can, right? Okay. So, write down 3 goals. Don't think too hard. I know there's probably like a million things. So we can talk about the wedges. Yes, I did mine on a computer. That's why they look so pretty. 3 goals. I made up this name. There's a process I go through. It's called ground floor goals. So often, people have a goal, and like by definition, they can often be very macro, right? They're broad, maybe they're a little vague. And I'm going to give you an example of how, like, you start with a goal here and you're like, I don't know, on the 5th or 6th floor in the elevator. You can't actually get anywhere from an elevator that's up on a high floor, right? You have to get down to the ground floor in order to go. So I had a client and she came and she said, I want to be stronger. Okay, that's great. But that's kind of like a 5th floor goal. What does that mean? How do you define it? How do you measure it? Okay, well, why do you want to be stronger? Because I feel like it'll make me happier. Okay, great. So now we're talking about happiness. Why is it going to make you happier? Well, because I'm going to be able to support my own body weight. So if I want to get down on the floor with my kids or maybe someday my grandkids, I know I can get back up. If I fall, I can handle myself. Like this is going to make me feel good. I'm like, okay, well, that is awesome, but very different from just I want to get stronger, right? So if we go through and go, well, why is that what you want? And then another level, deeper, right? Why is that important? Why is this? Then you get to something that's more concrete. And so every time that client now is going to go lift a weight or do a squat, she's like, this is so I can get down on the floor and play with my grandkids and be sure as shit that I'm going to be able to get up off the floor if I ever fall, right? It's just a little more motivating because it's more specific. Another example of why this sort of let's go down deeper to the ground floor is important. It's because sometimes the sort of deeper goal isn't exactly the same as like the right off the top of your head part. Okay, so I want to lose weight and be fitter. Okay, well, why? Let's talk about that. Because I want to be more attractive. Okay, that seems like reasonable. Well, why do you want to be more attractive? Because I think that'll be easier to date, because I think that I'll get more dates if, I'm more attractive. Okay, well, why do you think you're going to get more dates if you're thinner and more attractive? Well, because that's what I think I have to offer. Okay, so you go from I want to lose 5 pounds and be a little thinner to I feel like my value is in my physical being, right? And so now we have a very different thing that we're focusing on. Not that we certainly can't focus on losing weight, but there's a much deeper, meatier thing that we can be working on, which is why is there an idea that for this person, right, that their value is only in the physical. So I do this a lot. We're going to take one of your goals and do it now, right? A little bit harder when you're doing it on your own, but you're going to pick one of those 3 that you just wrote down. And you're going to try and go a little deeper. So whatever that goal was, now answer why. Okay, see if you can tell me on your paper why that is important to you. And then you're going to do it again. And you're going to take that second tier, which is a lower floor, and go, okay, why is that what I think I want? Why is that something that I think I want to work on? Why is that something that I feel is important to me? How are you doing? Do you have one more in you? So like, I know it's a little hard to do it sitting right there, like 1, 2, 3, 4. Takes a little more time off it. But you see my point, right? That sometimes is pretty similar, but maybe a little more specific. And sometimes it changes shape once you kind of dig deeper. And the more you dig deeper, the closer you are to the ground floor. Okay, now you're like, okay, here's the thing. I actually have to create habits to achieve. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about now. Because, you know, I want to be stronger, great. But I want to be able to get up off the floor when I'm playing with my grandkids. Okay, now that's something this is tangible. We can create habits for you. And just so you know, so when I do this in person, remember when things were in person and I'd have a group that I was talking to, I would make everybody get down on the floor. And I'd say, okay, now can you get up off the floor without using your hands? You're going to go home and do this. I know you're going to do this tonight with your kids. It's hilarious. It's so much fun. But what you realize is that it's not as easy as it sounds because it takes strength and balance and mobility. However, it is a huge predictor of longevity, interestingly enough, how able you are to get off the floor with as few contact points as possible. So, all right, so when we're done with the call, you'll get down on the floor and do it. So, all right, you've got this goal, and hopefully you've dug in a little bit. So now what? As I mentioned before, goals often are these aspirational things. They're macro, they're big, and everybody writes down a bunch of stuff, for their New Year's resolution. And okay, but like, what do you do? In order to actually reach your goal, you need to create habits. You need to have a shift. You actually have to adapt a lot. You have to adapt your mindset. You have to adapt your behavior, and you have to adapt habits. And all of those things are actually what can get you to your goal, right? So it's about the little pieces, the micro, the small, consistent changes that are actually the things that get you to the bigger goal. So breaking it down in as bite-sized pieces as possible and starting really, really small and frequent. So let's say someone does say, I want to get in better shape. And we can talk about how that's too vague, right? But are you going to start? Oh, I'm going to go to the gym once a week and lift weights. Okay, that's probably not going to work. What day of the week? And I'm going to be sore for 3 days afterwards, and I'm not going to see any progress, and I'm going to get frustrated, and then I'm going to give up. But if I said, okay, how about every day when you talk to your bestie on the phone, which most people do, or you talk to your coworker every day on the phone. Now that you're working from home, you don't sit next to them. I'm going to go up and down the stairs in my house 2 at a time. Not going to run, I'm not going to do anything crazy. Just every time I get on the phone with this person, I'm going to walk up and down the stairs. So now you've got something very different than, yes, I'm going to hit the gym, and that's outside into your car to a place. I don't know what to do when I get there. Pick up the phone. You've got now a bite-sized thing you can do. You've got another human being that's going to be there to support you, to remind you, and to keep you accountable. And you're attaching it to an existing habit, which is I talk to this other person, right? So having the encouragement and the accountability is huge, and keeping it small enough that you're like, oh, I can't, there's no reason I can't go up and down the stairs, right? Sure. Okay. And now all of a sudden you realize that 3 weeks later, you're doing it for 3 times as long and you're not getting as winded. And then you're able to go, all right, what else? What else can I do? Because now I got that one down and I'm doing it every day. All right, let's go. Next thing, right? So you break it down really small, and then you can build on your successes as opposed to having this big thing, right? And it works with everything. Okay, I really need to watch my budgeting because I've got a kid going to college in 5 years and shit, I haven't really planned right. Okay, that's a big ominous thing. But I'm going to, every day when I go get my coffee, I'm not going to get a latte. I'm going to get a drip coffee. You're still getting your coffee. You're saving a bunch of money that's going to add up over the days, and you're making those small steps to progress. So whether it's in, sort of any aspect of your life, I want to eat better. Okay. So let's start with, how about an extra glass of water a day? Start with an extra water, right? I should be drinking, okay, you don't need to drink 60 ounces. Drink a glass of water when you get up in the morning, right? Create a new, small, manageable habit. That's the steps, right? And doesn't sound sexy. It doesn't sound like you're going to get to your goal tomorrow, but you're going to feel successful in those pieces that are going to build into something greater, right? And so I thought what I would do is kind of give you guys some tips in a couple of different areas. So let's go back to my slides. And let's move on from our wheel, which I hope that you'll look at again. So let's do some fitness stuff. As we were just talking about, consistency is the key. It's not the one mighty effort you did that one day. It's the little thing that you do every day. And then that's going to get you closer where you want to go. Put down the small weights, please. I'm talking to you women probably more than men. Put them down. They're not doing anything for you. We all have muscles, male and female. You need to challenge yourself in order to see results. There's a whole physiology, I could go over the physiology of how you break down muscle fibers and we grow, blah, blah, blah. Take the pink weights and put them like on the corner for free. Please, please, please. And it doesn't mean you need to, Olympic lift, but it does mean you need to be challenging yourself, right? Try to move at least 15 minutes a day. There's so much incredible benefit and so much research that proves it. Get up and go up and down the stairs. Walk around the block. Jump on your bike if you don't live in the Northeast like I do. Do jumping jacks. Put on music and dance around with your kids. Like, just moving your body is going to make huge improvements to your psyche, to your physical being, like on every level. Mobility work. I know it's a big buzzword these days, but mobility work is essential. Gone are the days. There might be some of you still on this call that can run out the back door, do a 5-mile run and roll back in and shower and then not feel crappy the next day. I mean, I know I used to do it too, but we really can't ignore the mobility that you need in order to have a functional body for all the years to come. Squat. It's good for everybody. We all have to sit on a toilet till the day we die. So don't be scared. There's a million different variations. Even if you have bad knees and some doctor 10 years ago said you can never squat, I promise you can. So if you want to, you can find someone that can help you figure out how it works for your body. But don't have that be the reason that like your children have to put you in an old age home someday because you can't get off the toilet. I don't know if you're laughing or you're horrified now, but nutrition. That glass of water, you should try drinking it before you have a snack. Sometimes you're hungry when you go for a snack, but sometimes you're thirsty, or maybe you're bored, or maybe you just needed an excuse to get up from your damn desk, right? So have a glass of water and then decide if you really want a snack. If you're still hungry, by all means, have a snack. But by that point, you might realize that it's not really what you needed in the first place. Make only one small change at a time. Kind of going back to that whole goal, big goal, small habit, one thing at a time. Don't get crazy. because the way to not be successful is to go, I'm going to totally revamp the whole thing. It's going to be great. It's going to last a very short period of time. And I would like to suggest that that one change that you make be an addition. Everybody's always, restricting and taking things out. Let's add something healthy. The more healthy things you add, the less room there is for the unhealthy stuff. So you get to think more about the positive than the negative. So add something healthy and see as you go along, there's less and less room for all. And there's also less cravings because you're getting all the vitamins and the nutrients that you need. And that does often take away some of the cravings that we have. Be wary of anything that sounds too good to be true. That pill, that shake, that, whatever. I know that part of you was always kind of thinking that in the back of your head, but maybe no, just tried and true, healthy in, get your body moving. Because fad diets are fad for a reason. They come into, some famous person looks great. And they're like, oh, because I've been, I stopped eating everything that the color green, whatever. They work short term, mostly because they're eliminating whole food groups. And then they're just really unsustainable. Most people, not everyone, but most people should be consuming more calories than they think they should. And that doesn't mean that doesn't say more calories than you're eating. It's more calories than you think you should be eating, right? So there's so many apps out there. They go, what's your height? What's your weight? How often do you work out? And they give you a number of calories you should be consuming in a day that's like ridiculously low. So make sure you get good information about what you should be eating. The quality of your calories is super important, but that low number that comes up on some calorie counter is probably not going to serve you very well. Self-care. Sleep. I love sleep. It is so important for every part of your body. It's good for your psychological well-being. It's good for your physical well-being. That's when your muscles repair. That's when your nerve and your brain repair. It makes you more patient with the people in your life. It makes you better, gives you better reaction times. There are so many things. It's going to help you with your metabolism. So it's going to help you lose weight if that's something you're doing. More sleep. More sleep. It's one of my favorites. Prioritize rest and fun. Not only do they not get prioritized, they often don't even make it onto the list, right? Nowhere on the to-do list is like, what fun thing am I doing today? Oh, Abby Wambach, I love her, the former professional soccer player. I listen to a podcast she does, and she's like, I've started doing this thing where I wake up every day and go, what fun thing am I going to do today? And I'm totally stealing that. I love it. Because fun gets like shoved in the corner. Like if we happen to finish every other thing we're supposed to be doing, then maybe possibly we can have fun. And rest shouldn't be because you keel over at the end of the day, like exhausted. It could potentially be like, oh, I'm just actually not going to like do something scheduled right now. I'm just going to rest. Because I would argue that the magic happens in the unscheduled times. It's often the time when your kid is going to come and have a conversation with you that they wouldn't have had if you had like scheduled a lunch date. That's like, I call it putter time, but it's often when I do my best thinking. It gives you a chance to take a deep breath and maybe figure out what you want to be doing. So schedule some unscheduled time. I think that would be a great idea. And maybe do that right alongside with the rest of the fun. I joke, but I'm actually being really serious. We're so good at ticking things off the boxes that we're supposed to be doing. But these are the things that keep us that keep our mental health in balance and that keep our bodies in balance. We have a nervous system that's fight and flight and rest. And the amount of time that most of us spend in that sympathetic nervous system, the fight and flight, is inordinate. And we really need to be more conscious about like shifting that balance, right? Which is basically why we're having this conversation. Like, what is it that we feel like we want to be doing? And are we actually like doing it? No is not a 4-letter word. If anybody else grew up in a nice Catholic house like me, where you were taught to be accommodating and helpful and, guess whatever anybody else needs, even if it's at my own expense. Okay, so no is absolutely an appropriate response, and it doesn't need an explanation. So it doesn't have to be, oh, I'm so sorry, I can't because da 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 da. Oh, I would love to accept. No, thank you. Thank you. Next time, not now. So practice, it's super hard, but it feels good when I can manage to do. Are you making active decisions in your life, or are you just doing what you've always done? Actually, a classmate of ours, I will remember to this day where I was sitting when he and I spoke about this and we were 19. It was like, I want to make sure that I always make active decisions, even if the active decision is to continue doing exactly what I'm doing right now. But that checking in with yourself to make sure that it's a decision that you're really happy with and not something that you're just still doing because you forgot to check in with yourself about it. So making sure that there are active decisions in your life and you're not just like on a wheel going. So I think I'm almost done. I think I'm doing pretty good on my time. I think this whole presentation started out, it was like 2 hours. I had to cut it way down. So as I was speaking about before, one of the big pieces of this whole process is like, what are your values? What are your core values? And when you can, I think we could all probably rattle off a half a dozen things, but sitting down and going through the process of figuring out what your true core values are a way in which you can gut check all these decisions that I'm encouraging you to be thinking about and making. Because then you're like, oh yeah, this aligns, this makes sense, this feels right. I'm not constantly at odds with myself because there's something not in balance. So it's just a good way to think about, exploring how you're making decisions. So action coaching, kind of a bunch of questions that we talked about today, but when you're ready to identify those values, when you want to articulate your goals, when you need to create some new habits, when you want to partner with a professional who can keep you accountable in becoming a healthier version of yourself, when you want to take action. So that's the kind of stuff that I deal with every day, both in groups and with individuals. And, if you have questions, we're going to stay on. We have plenty of time for questions. If you have questions even after today, email me, call me. Like, I love to talk about this stuff. And it's so important. I feel like we get so many messages about this is what you're supposed to do. I would like to throw out the word should. I know I use it all the time. I'm still, healing that. But let's take some of the supposed to out and create some true like happiness in making the choices that feel really right to us. So I really thank you guys for coming. Like I said in the beginning, just so I'm glad that we're talking about something that clearly is so relevant to so many people, right? Unless you guys all just showed up because you were curious. So there's my email and my website. Like I said, don't hesitate. Please, reach out, ask me questions. You can also find me through Maura. You can find me through Kristen. If you want to, I'm around. So thank you. And yeah, Maura, did you get questions? Do you want to ask people about that? What do you want to?
Yeah, so we have a few that came in from registration, but we always like to prioritize questions that people might have that sprung up over the course of the conversation. One that you talked about the importance of mobility. And mobility work. I wonder if you can talk more specifically about what that means and what everyone should be doing, because I think that knowing that it is such an important topic that might be new to a lot of people.
Yeah, it's a good question, actually. So then sort of back in the day, right, it was all about stretching. You have to stretch before you work out. You have to stretch after you work out. That's sort of not exactly true. Stretching is really important, but active mobility is very different than the static stretching that sort of we talk about. So stretching after you do something physical is great. So if you go for a bike ride around the neighborhood or you go spin for an hour, great. When you're finished, certainly some slow, like static stretching is great. But what's really important, even more so, I would argue, is prior to any, is like oil the joints. So that's how I describe mobility, right? We got to oil the joints. And I don't know about yours, but mine are like squeaky. So it's about doing movement-based kind of stretching that gets into, some people do it from head to toe. Some people sort of focus on the areas that are the tightest for them. So I have like a little routine of 5 different mobility exercises that I'll do like before I go out for a walk or a run that hits those joints. So I'll do like a little hip mobility, and then I'll do a little knee and ankle, right? So for different activities, I might do different. Sometimes if I'm doing rehab with people, I'll specify, okay, you need to be doing some really detailed shoulder because you had surgery. And, here's the 6 things you need to get on a foam roller and do this. You need to be doing range of motion, those sorts of things. So it's a variety of exercises that are less about like strengthening, more about range of motion and joint work. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And that's helpful, because I was using, kind of going through a stretching for myself anyway, going through a stretching exercise on one of the fitness apps that I like. And they actually had us doing some yoga flows. And I said, well, this is not what I expected from stretching. But now to hear you talk about mobility, that makes a lot of sense.
Perfect. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, like a sun salutation before you, do something. Like if you don't have any idea what else to do, it would hit a bunch of marks, right?
Yes. Yes. No, that's great. That's great. Here's a question that just came in. Someone commented, which, talking about life at 50, menopause. Can't believe I've hit that age group. What diet tips or exercises do you recommend for hormone changes and for people who are experiencing that?
So I think one of the biggest things is listen to your body. I think oftentimes we feel like we should be, boom, 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 like this is what we should be doing. We should be hitting, oh, I need to do a boot camp or whatever. Well, actually, in like certain hormonal phases of a month or in menopause or perimenopause, there are times when that actually is a super good idea. And there are other times that, depending on where your hormone levels are, you're fighting yourself. And it would be a much better choice to do something like a walk or a yoga flow on that particular day and do something else another day. So like the biggest advice I can get without sort of talking specifically to a person is don't ignore what your body is telling you, because it actually knows a lot better than your brain what you need. And then I think probably the easiest tip for nutrition is more protein, more lean. Like we all think we're eating a lot of protein, but in fact, I think we need even more than most people assume. And kind of, again, often the things that we're like, once you add in the things that are really going to help you, some of the desire and the craving to eat some of the other stuff flows away a little bit.
That is very helpful. Thank you. I'm going to combine 2 other questions that came in, and there's some of these really big, deep philosophical questions that I love that Holy Cross grads bring forward. So the idea of creating a new path, and you mentioned early on about, and I can't help but talk about this with the work that I do.
Sure.
But the earlier on about checking in with yourself and making those active choices and seeing, are you doing work that you want to be doing? Are you happy with what you're doing. To the questions asked about, is it possible to create a new path at this point in life? And how, if you do some of that active check-in and realize that you're unhappy with what you've been doing, what would you recommend as a first step, one of those ground level goals, maybe first action for someone looking to start to make that change?
So the first thing I would say is it is never too late. Like that whole notion of like, oh, but I'm this age or I'm at this stage in my life. I don't think for anything it's ever too late. Like I truly do believe that. And because I don't know, I just feel like we only have one shot. Like to waste any of it feeling like it would be too much trouble or too much effort to get to a place that felt more happy or more satisfied, like always worth the effort in my mind. Um, but so the first steps, if you're like, I'm really feeling like I'm not satisfied, not happy. So for someone that doesn't know then what the next step is, they definitely talk to a professional, talk to a career coach, talk to a life coach, talk to an action coach, talk to like psychotherapists, someone that can help you sort of tease out, and some will be more like emotional based and some will be more practically based. And it might help you, talking to some of those people might actually help you figure out which one you need. Like you start going in this direction, you're like, that's not really helping. Because I think the way you start to make that decision is to figure out like what truly matters. Like what, at the end of the day, what is it that truly matters to me? And then I think it can help you get to that next decision about whether it's a career or, shift in where you live or, with whom you live or whatever. Unless there's some clear next step, I think that's the best way to do it. Is that enough of an answer? Does that make?
So, the question's huge, so impossible. Yes. No, I think
it's to really start to not try to answer the question, what job should I be doing? Because holy cow, like, I don't know that I've still answered that question.
Right.
Honestly, like I left college, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like, it's not about what you want to do. To me, it's about like what gets you fired up, what matters to you, what makes you want to engage in the world. And then from there, you kind of can move to, okay, so how does that translate into job opportunities or career opportunities? And you're coming from a place of like true like intention. And then I think it becomes easier because I think especially when we're getting out of college, there's a lot of like, what should I be doing? What's the right career? What's the career that's going to make me the money I want? Or what's the career that I can advance in? And I think we get like lost in a bunch of things that aren't really quite anywhere close to who we are, how we want to be in the world.
Yes, which is why I like that you phrase this all about you, about who do you want to be, not what do you want to do at 50, but who do you want to be at 50? Yeah. And starting with that, I think is critical. Yeah. Well, I know we're at just about at time. This has been phenomenal, and it's great to see so many of you still with us. Maria, it is a true joy every time I get to talk to you, and this talk was a real gift. And reading through the chat, I can see it's been true for most of us here. I think I don't want to put words in your mouth, but this has been a real gift. So thank you very much for sharing what you do so well with all of us.
Thank you. And it was really, first of all, it was so much fun to see all your faces, seriously. And I was totally serious. Like, I'm happy to like talk to people. So if people come back to you more with questions or you guys want to reach out to me, that's fine. I'll put together like a little summary just so that people can refer back to some of the things we talked about. If they want to be digging in a little deeper, redoing their wheel a couple times, and then you'll give them the recording too, though, right?
That's right. Yep. So I'll follow up with that. We'll compile all of the great information, the recording. I've got a survey, Maria's handouts, and get that out to all of you. And as Maria said, any questions, you can reach out to me. You can reach out to Maria. We'll make sure that your questions get answered and you get plugged in the right ways. So I hope all of you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day, evening, no matter wherever you're connecting from. Look forward to seeing you again soon. And Maria, thanks again.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody. Great to see you. Have a great day. Talk to you soon. I'll see some of you soon. I'll see some of you next week. Char.